Howdy, Graham.
Well, howdy there.
How was your Thanksgiving?
Oh, it was delightful. What about you?
It was good, but I got a joke for you.
Okay.
Did you hear the one about the cowboy who rode into town wearing a paper suit and a paper hat?
No. What about him?
Well, let me tell you, he wasn't in town 5 minutes before he was arrested for rustling.
Oh, no. For rustling.
Yep.
Is it good? Is it horrible?
No, you're going to have to tell me.
Good or horrible? Good or horrible? Let's have the people vote. Wait, they can't vote. I won't be able to hear them. Splitting the difference, it's a 5. Right in the middle.
I'll take it. I feel like that's right.
So, David, recently I was at a restaurant. And,
okay.
And a weasel came in. Talking weasel.
Talking weasel.
And everybody was okay with it.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So he came in, he sat down, and he ordered a drink. Or no, the waiter said, what do you want to drink?
Yeah.
Pop, goes the weasel.
6.
How about 600?
Well,
1,000.
I don't know. Is it the best joke we've ever told on this show?
600,000. It might be.
Shout out to all of the audience members at the SD Smith event that we had here recently that voted that joke the winner of the 3 jokes that you presented.
Out of the 3 terrible jokes, that was the least atrocious.
Oh, well, you know what? Enough of the nonsense. Let's get on with the nonsense. Welcome back to Withywindle, a whimsical, interactive show for kids who love stories, words, and groan-worthy jokes, and featuring your favorite authors and illustrators. It's part book club, part game show. It's your weekly adventure through the wild world of wordplay. I'm David Kern.
And ho, 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 I'm Santa Claus. You didn't think I'd
make me
an elf? I don't know. Are you in my employ?
No,
and I bet
not.
I bet you're thinking Santa doesn't look or sound like you thought.
I don't know. You do look kind of like it.
I'm getting there. Got some white in my beard. And I'm not Santa.
Yeah, who are you again?
My name's Graham.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you're Graham Pittman. We together we make up the duo that does the Withywindle podcast, which you know because you're listening to this, and presumably you've been listening to it for a while because this is the final episode of season 4.
4.10.
4.
Right?
The 10th. 4.10. Yeah.
4.10.
4.10.
That's a lot of episodes.
Yeah. This has been a great season, and we have a great episode today.
Yes.
We have an interview with Andrew Peterson and Chris Wall. Now, together, they're part of the team behind the new TV series,
Captain Planet.
The Wingfeather Saga.
Oh, that's better. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that that's better. So we talked to them about how they made this show and the choices that they made in adapting Andrew's books for TV and all the different things that go into making a TV show. So we're going to talk to them in a little bit.
Yeah.
Of course, before that, Graham, it's Withywindle. So we've got some other stuff.
We're going to do some snacks and a story. There's no riddle this time.
Yeah, because it's the last episode of the season.
And then we're going to say goodbye till 2023.
Are we going to do the laziest part of the episode?
I don't know. I'll check.
We'll see. See how.
What if
how lazy you're feeling?
What if it would be like a meta segment where we're so lazy we don't even do it, and it becomes the laziest.
Yeah, maybe we will. Maybe we won't. I don't know.
You'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out. Okay, but first, Graham.
Joke time.
No, we already did that.
There was a weasel.
There's a weasel. Yeah. Did you hear about the one about the cowboy who was? Never mind. Okay, so. Should we do some snacks? Should we talk about some snacks?
Snack time.
Okay. You have something and I've got something. Who do you shoot?
Right. So I'll go first. My brother and my sister-in-law came into town. They live in the Midwest, but
so they get that pop joke.
That's right. But they originally are from Canada, as we are, and they brought us some Midwestern snacks, some Canadian snacks, and some Withywindle themed snacks.
Oh, okay.
So I'll do that with you.
Bag here.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, I just got to tell you, the bag was heavier a week ago when they brought it, and it's much lighter now.
Well, you left something though. It looks like.
Not those.
That is a Christmas theme.
Okay,
There's a
so,
Santa Claus Ziploc bag.
These are the Withywindle themed one. It is garlic sesame sticks.
Oh,
Because they're wondering if we...
certified sticks?
If they're certified or not.
Can certified sticks certified food sticks?
I'm going to certify them as delicious. I know that. I don't actually know what they are. What is a sesame stick? Is it just like...
Well, I believe it
stick?
is enriched white flour.
Okay. You lost me. Anyway, in the Midwest...
These are good.
In the
I'm
town...
actually surprised at how good these are.
Yeah, you can have the rest of them. There's only like 4 left.
They're great. You can have them.
These are from our town that we both lived in of Dubuque, Iowa.
Yep.
They're like a turtle. You remember? Not the animal, but the chocolate thing.
They don't eat turtles in Dubuque.
They're from Betty Jane Candies. There's one left.
No, there's 2, 3.
Oh, well, wow.
Two in a
I didn't
portion.
mean to leave that many. They are delicious.
Oh, man.
Any small kind of boutique chocolatier or candy shop, you're not going to go wrong.
Gremlin Snackers is what these are called.
Yeah, I wonder if kids...
Named one of the best chocolate shops in America.
By who? By themselves?
By the Withywindle podcast.
Well, I don't disagree. And then there's also a place in Dubuque called Freddy's Popcorn. And we have Mississippi Mix, which is cheddar popcorn mixed with caramel corn.
Now, do you like this?
Yeah.
You do? I'm surprised.
I love cheddar popcorn.
I'm surprised.
Well, think of Cheetos. Like, it's a cheese flavored thing. Cheese isn't my favorite thing. Just like slices of cheese and string cheese, not my favorite. But flavored, well, what else? What do you cheese on a cracker?
Slices of cheese or string cheese. You know, it could have been like a delightful French cheese that has been aged in a cave for 10 years. Instead, he goes, I don't know, string cheese.
I bet that cave is smelly.
Okay,
so. And then they brought us some Canadian.
Really good.
They brought us some Canadian chocolate bars. It says bonus Canada candy, and so we have an Aero bar, and I brought a coffee crisp. So pick your poison. I mean your delight.
I love the coffee crisp, but they gave me one of those.
Oh, so you're doing the Aero bar. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you to Aunt Beth and Uncle Neil and my nephews. Liam and Ian,
who I hired at the shop and then immediately fired.
Well, to be fair, they didn't do a very good job. Also,
they did nothing.
Also, to be fair, no training. There was a lack of training going on.
They were very insistent about being hired, and they acted like they could solve the problem.
Oh wait, if you fired them, do they get a severance? Like you're saying they didn't quit on record that you fired them?
Yeah, they can have a severance. It can be exactly what they were hired to be paid.
How about next time they come, they get a book?
How about next time they come, they do some work and then we'll talk?
How about next time they come, they can get a book from the basement after they clean the basement? Anyway, we'll figure it out.
Okay, Graham, I brought something too, though. And it's Christmas time. Mm-hmm. It's early December. Today we're recording on December 1st. So
it is December 1st.
In a couple days, this episode is going to go up. And
I know that because I'm Santa. That's right.
By the way, this episode is going up on the birthday of my son, Jeremiah.
The 5th.
Happy 10th birthday to Jeremiah. Also, my dogs are in the workshop here in like my studio. And one of them is just staring at all the food. And the puppy is whining.
Yep.
But okay, here's what I'm curious about, Graham.
Okay.
I got 3 very popular candies.
Yeah.
But I got their Christmas edition.
Okay.
And I want to rank these. I want to find out which one we think is the best.
I love this.
So up first.
I love ranking everything.
Okay. So up first, me too. We have Andy's Mints, but they are like a Christmas version that has Andy's Mints with a crunch.
Oh, so they're actually different, not just the packaging.
No, right. They're actually different.
Okay.
I don't know how different they are.
Do you think it's maybe peppermint?
Well, I don't think so because they had other peppermint ones. I think it's still like... But it has at least a different texture to it. So these are they have a crunch to them. I don't know. They're pretty much the same.
Are we supposed to say our reaction now or save it?
You can say what you think of it. Don't rank it yet.
Good.
Okay.
Chocolate. Mint.
Okay. Now, one of the most popular candies in America is the Hershey's Kiss.
Yep.
Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the Hershey's Kiss.
It's just kind of middle of the road.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so I got a candy. You know how they have these candy cans that
I'm looking at it.
Candy,
yes.
yeah, right. You can from stocking stuffers. So these are candy cane Hershey's
Oh,
Kisses.
so like white chocolate and peppermint, maybe.
Probably. They were kind of hard to open.
Here, give me that one. You do that one.
Okay. And the other one is Rolo, the Rolo holiday ones. And yeah, it's like you have to do a whole... Now, there's the Rolos. So we have Andy's Mints, the Rolos. We have the peppermint. So let's figure out what we think of these.
Oh, I like these. The Hershey Kisses are white and bright red.
Yeah, bright red.
Like boysenberry. No, cherries.
Yeah,
boysenberry.
boysenberries. Aren't they black? These are pretty good. Okay.
That tastes like that. That does not taste natural. I'll say that. There's nothing chocolate or there's nothing real about that. Wow.
Yeah, but it's
so good.
Our candy canes. Okay, so we have Rolo. Now the thing is about these Rolos, I'm actually not sure now that I look at it if they're any different than normal Rolos. So we might just be eating normal Rolos right now.
Okay, but the thing about eating, as we all know, is it involves all the senses. So even though they're normal Rolos, I just unwrapped it from a red package, and that's going to change it.
Gold.
It's going to change the whole tenor of the thing.
That's right. Okay, so we've got Rolos. Mm-hmm. We have Candy Cane Hershey's Kisses, and we have the Andy's Mints with Crunch. And these don't look exactly like regular Andy's Mints. I think there's more of the minty, crunchy part to it. So how would you rank these?
Okay. It's difficult. I'm going to just think for a second of which one would I want to eat like 3 more of.
Okay.
It might be the Rolo, and there's nothing different about it. No, I'm going to go
maybe that's why they didn't do anything different with it.
Perfection. Okay, no, I'm going Andy's Mint, Rolo, and then the plastic Hershey Kiss that is with peppermint oil, dunked in peppermint oil. What about you?
I think I would do the Rolo first, but I would like to know what they would do with the Rolo for holidays.
Oh, that's good.
And then I think I would go with these peppermint, the candy can kisses.
Oh my word!
Just because I'm only going to get them this time of year.
You're just being contrary.
Well, you're only going to get them this time of year, right?
You ate 1/3 of yours. Well, I know that's not.
That's because I'm trying to be able to put them in order.
Oh, I see.
And then I've eaten 1/3 of all of them, which is okay. Funny. I also have all the other stuff that came from Neil and Beth and the boys.
Oh yeah, so. True.
But I think the Rolo would be first.
What would they do? What would a Christmas Rolo like? Put mashed potatoes in it?
Well, maybe sweet potatoes.
So, or okay, it can't be peppermint. Everything's peppermint. What else is cranberry sauce?
Cranberry.
It's cranberry jam. That actually could be good.
That sounds English. Like there'd be a piece of chocolate with a cranberry jam.
All right, you don't know this, but I actually brought something else.
You brought something else?
This is This is like a season of giving.
Oh, right. That's true. That's true.
We're giving each other snacks.
And I definitely got something to give you on the podcast.
All right, so I actually brought my favorite Christmas editions
of
things. So here you go. Part of the package fell off. You can see that. And then look at this one.
Christmas edition frosty old-fashioned root beer.
Uh-huh. Look at. I don't know what's funny.
I'm sorry. So I shouldn't be laughing.
It's a Christmas Baby Ruth. It's Christmas edition. So I had the same idea, get Christmas edition stuff.
It definitely, okay. So it's a Baby Ruth with a piece of paper on it that says Christmas edition.
Yeah.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is from my yellow legal pad that you wrote on it when you walked into the room. But if you say it's a Christmas edition, it's a Christmas edition.
Yeah.
Gotta eat it.
That's right. And
what are your thoughts on Baby Ruth?
I think it's kind of a funny candy bar. I mean, who's it referencing? Babe Ruth? I suppose.
Or maybe named Ruth. Maybe the inventor was named Charles, and he had a daughter named Ruth.
I'm pro Baby Ruth. I never buy them. Yeah. I think that's most people's opinion.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of the candy market they corner. 0.01%?
The thing about Baby Ruth, it takes a minute to eat it. Like it gets stuck in your teeth, and you kind of have to work a little to chew it. So you're not gonna down a bunch of them.
It is good.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
I hadn't had one of these in probably a couple of years.
What about a Christmas edition one? Probably
it's
decades,
super festive.
Decades.
I don't think they'd invented it decades ago.
Okay, so yes, these are not Christmas edition things. I just wrote that on there to be festive. Although, this root beer does have a man that looks like Santa, even though...
Oh, this is yeah.
It's
this
not...
Is
I should have just left this.
Frosty root beer is Christmas all year long.
Frosty vanilla root beer.
I don't know. I'm going to drink this.
All right. So, full confession, I do not have a lazy word for this final episode. But what if we just talk about what we want for Christmas or something?
So, I want to run a lazy word by you because I want to hear what you think.
Okay, should we put the music in?
Yeah,
Logan, your call.
Logan,
yeah,
you do. You can put it in or not.
You do you, Logan.
Yeah. You do what you normally do, you, Logan.
A good job.
At dinner, at dinner today with my children, we were talking about lazy words. And we were talking about what makes something a lazy word.
Yeah, great conversation.
And they threw some out there. And they were suggesting that maybe these were lazy words.
I like this.
Okay. There's 3 of them. They go together.
Okay.
You know the place that you go when you need to get your kids out of the house on Thanksgiving?
The dungeon.
But the dungeon is closed.
Oh, the lair.
So it's outside.
Okay.
And
when you need to get them out of the house on Thanksgiving?
Out of the house on Thanksgiving, you go to a park. So what is one? So a park has a number of features. It could have fields. It could have bathrooms.
Yes.
It could have trails, fences, dog park.
Sticks.
But what's the main thing that you often go to play on at a park?
The playground.
A playground.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I've never noticed this one.
Is a playground a lazy word, do we think?
1,000%.
Okay. Now, also, there's 2 parts of a playground that also might be lazy. At least 2 parts of a playground.
Swing set?
Swing set, or at least a swing.
Oh, let me think of the next one. Dungeon. The dungeon. The
lair.
Playground.
You're right, the lair. The playground lair.
What, the slide?
The slide.
Oh, my word.
So our slide, swing set, and playground, lazy words.
100%.
Okay.
Those are all very good.
And the great thing is, or the bad thing is, these are all amazing things. A playground, despite its name, is an amazing place. And a swing is an amazing thing. And a slide is an especially amazing thing.
I'm pretty upset that I've never thought of these ones. I'm gonna have some words with your kids.
Well, they didn't invent them.
Well, they discovered something that I wanted to discover. And I'm upset at that.
Okay.
So slide especially.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You slide down it.
I'm going to
Let's
climb
call
up
it
that thing
slide.
and I'm just going to, I don't know, slide down it. Yeah.
Let's call it the slide.
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad. That's so bad. Okay.
Swing is at least, I mean, you're going to get on it and swing.
Swing set. A set of swings.
But it's not as bad as a slide. Playground's pretty rough.
Playground. Yeah, that's rough.
Okay, so why don't we have the kids then?
Yeah,
we're not gonna. We'll have to just maybe post about it on social media or something. But
yeah, you can
send us better names for playground, swing set, and slide.
I think as kids might have noticed, like as the lazy word segment has gone on, we've stopped giving our own opinions because your guys' are so much better.
That's right,
and we just get so flabbergasted by these words and how lazy they are.
For example, why couldn't a playground be called a flabbergaster?
Flabbergast. Yeah, that's right.
So if kids think they have solutions to big world problems like these, how could they get in touch and give us better answers?
They're going to email us podcasts@goldberrybooks.com.
Podcast plural.
Podcasts at goldberrybooks.com. And that's where they would also email us to let us know who they want to see us interview or listen to us interview on Withywindle season 5.
True.
So send us those suggestions for those people. If you guys know of folk or fairy tales you want to hear in season 5, send us those. If you guys have written stories, send us those because we're going to look through y'all's stories and pick one for next season and read it on the air. People have been asking, people have been sending them in and also asking, what are the rules? And I say rules schmools, but I wonder, do we actually have rules? Because I have been saying rules schmools in my emails.
Less than 1,000 words, 1,000 words or less.
Okay, that's the official rule.
Because we can't go on and on for too long on those stories.
True, but we could edit them. We'd email and be like, this is too long. Can you edit it?
That's true. Can you divide this into 10 parts?
I'm going to say rules schmools.
Rules schmools.
Okay.
Well,
one rule.
Okay.
You have to write it. Children, don't
You can't have
don't
your parents
plagiarize it.
write it or copy
Okay.
a Charles Dickens
So
story.
rule of schmools except that one rule. That rule is not a schmool.
Because when we start reading all the stories and we come across that one that's about the curmudgeonly old man that right around Christmas time is visited by a number of spirits who convinces him to not be so curmudgeonly, we're going to be suspicious.
We'll send you to the lair.
Well, Graham, speaking of Christmas, that brings us to the end of this segment and thus to the beginning of another segment. And that next segment is story time. And this week, we have a Christmas story for you. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to eat some more snacks, and we'll be back to share story time with you. Okay, Graham, it's story time here on Withywindle. Before we get into the story, though, we need to tell our listeners about a new story. If you've been listening to the show, you've already heard about it because it is a new story from the creator of the million-plus selling Green Ember series. It's a brand new story with an old soul. The can't-miss first adventure in a thrilling new series. Graham, do you remember what this book is called by S.D. Smith?
It is called... Wait, the new one?
Yeah.
Jack Zulu and the Waylander's Key.
And it is an enchanting adventure in the tradition of Tolkien and Lewis, but also Spielberg and Lucas. It's a fantastical journey that launches in rural West Virginia in the 80s when a half Appalachian, half African kid tries to escape the town that he feels like is defining his small, sad life. He discovers, Graham, a gate hiding a city between 12 realms and finds out where he truly belongs in a surprising and satisfying adventure. Sam Smith, S.D. Smith, he wrote this with his son Josiah. So, their whole endeavor there is a family operation, which we think is pretty cool. I know my kids like it. Has Rowan read it yet?
He has about 10 pages left, last I checked, which was today. Okay, and I almost stopped you during that spiel, like during your recap of this.
Yes.
Because everybody who's listening to this already has this book. I know it for a fact. I know I've seen everybody reading this book. Anybody?
Okay, but hear me out.
In back pockets, in satchels.
Okay, let's say you have it in your satchel or your back pocket. That doesn't mean that your cousin does. And you know what's coming up? Christmas. So they could head over to jackzulu.com and they could get a copy for each of their cousins, say.
There you go.
Or for their friend or for the classmate who they have to do a Christmas swap with. I mean, I can think of a lot of reasons why someone might want to go to jackzulu.com and pick up a copy. Especially if they like it as much as our kids do.
Yeah.
We had a great time doing the launch event with S.D. Smith.
Yeah, we
and
got to
Josiah
hear him read almost a chapter, it seemed like, of it. It was really good. The whole audience was like enraptured.
Yeah. He's a funny guy and a fun guy. And if you haven't picked up this book already, then please do. It's great. And if you have already, then, come on. It's a great Christmas gift. So jackzulu.com. They also have a newsletter there where you can keep up with everything that's going on in their world, including a newsletter that you will want to be signed up for future books like Jack Zulu 2.
Yeah, so I actually listened. I jumped on Instagram today and Sam was doing a Facebook Live with somebody. And I listened for about 5 minutes between little jobs I was doing. And he dropped this thing. He said this Jack Zulu could be a trilogy. It could be up to 12 books, he said. And I'm not saying, I'm just
that sounds like a lot of work.
Repeating what I heard from the author. So,
you said 12, I heard you say 1,200. Is that
1,200 million books?
Well, yeah, go check them out. Again, it's jackzulu.com. jackzulu.com.
And did I hear you right before S.D. Smith has shipped out 1 million embers to people? That seems like a hazard.
Yeah.
How do you pack an ember?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to have him on next time we have him on. We'll have
Dry
to ask
ice,
him.
maybe? Yeah, well, I got to get to the bottom of that. That's
Well, why don't you look into that while I read the story? Because this week's story is called The Christmas Fairy of Strasbourg. It's by Francis Jenkins Olcott, and it's a German fairy tale.
I could tell by the city name.
Strasbourg. It's probably not even in Germany. Okay, here we go. Are you ready, Graham?
Ready.
Okay. Once long ago, there lived near the ancient city of
Strasbourg,
on the river Rhine, a young and handsome count whose name was Otto. As the years flew by, he remained unwed and never so much as cast a glance at the fair maidens of the country round. For this reason, people began to call him Stoneheart.
Ooh.
It chanced that Count Otto, on one Christmas Eve, ordered that a great hunt should take place in the forest surrounding his castle. He and his guests and his many retainers rode forth, and the chase became more and more exciting. It led through thickets and over pathless tracts of forest, until at length Count Otto found himself separated from his companions. He rode on by himself until he came to a spring of clear, bubbling water, known to the people around as the Fairy Well. Here Count Otto dismounted. He bent over the spring and began to lave his hands in the sparkling tide. But to his wonder, he found that though the weather was cold and frosty, the water was warm and delightfully caressing.
This sounds excellent.
He felt a glow of joy pass through his veins, and as he plunged his hands deeper, he fancied that his right hand was grasped by
The Balrog of Strasbourg.
another soft and small, which gently slipped from his finger the gold ring he always wore.
Ooh.
And lo, when he drew out his hand, the golden ring was
Gone.
gone indeed. Full of wonder at this mysterious event, the Count mounted his horse and returned to his castle.
Oh, I gotta stop you.
Yep.
The Count dunked his hand, his frigid hand, his numb hand into warm water. His ring fell off because he dunked his whole hand into water. And then he was shocked and amazed that it was missing.
Yeah, but I think there was maybe like a hand took the ring off. There was a hand in the water.
I don't know. I think this guy might just be strange.
Well, full of wonder at this mysterious event, the Count mounted his horse and returned to his castle, resolving in his mind that the very next day he would have the fairy well emptied by his servants. He retired to his room, and throwing himself just as he was upon his couch, tried to sleep. But the strangeness of the adventure kept him restless and wakeful.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Suddenly, he heard the hoarse baying of the watchhounds in the courtyard, and then the creaking of the drawbridge as though it were being lowered. And then came to his ear the patter of many small feet on the stone staircase. And next, he heard indistinctly the sound of light footsteps in the chamber adjoining his own. Count Otto sprang from his couch, and as he did so, there sounded a strain of delicious music, and the door of his chamber was flung open. Hurrying into the next room, he found himself in the midst of numberless fairy beings, clad in gay and sparkling robes. They paid no heed to him, but began to dance and laugh and sing to the sound of mysterious music. In the center of the apartment stood a splendid
The fairy.
Christmas tree.
Oh.
The first ever seen in that country. Instead of toys and candles, there hung on its lighted boughs diamond pearls, pearl necklaces, bracelets of gold ornamented with colored jewels, aigrettes of rubies and sapphires, silken belts embroidered with oriental pearls, and daggers mounted in gold and studded with the rarest gems. The whole tree swayed, sparkled, and glittered in the radiance of its many lights.
This is interesting. Okay, so the fairies took his ring.
And next thing you know, there's a Christmas tree in his room.
Christmas tree in the room, and they don't care much about him. They just put it there and dance in.
Right, yeah. Sounds like my children.
Yeah.
Count Otto.
Sounds like every Christmas party I've been to or hosted.
You're just like in the corner watching people dance around a Christmas tree.
that they brought.
Yeah, exactly. This should be like a party. Like it's like the whole gag of the party.
It's like I already have one, but okay.
Count Otto stood speechless, gazing at all this wonder, when suddenly the fairies stopped dancing and fell back to make room for a lady of dazzling beauty who came slowly toward him. She wore on her raven black tresses a golden diadem set with jewels. Her hair flowed down upon a robe of rosy satin and creamy velvet. She stretched out two small white hands to the Count and addressed him in sweet, alluring tones.
Hello, Count.
Dear Count Otto, she said, I come to return your Christmas visit. I am Ernestine, the Queen of the Fairies. I bring you something you lost in the fairy well.
Oh.
And as she spoke, she drew from her bosom a golden casket, set with diamonds, and placed it into his hands.
Casket, huh?
He opened it eagerly and found within his lost gold ring.
Okay.
Carried away by the wonder of it all and overcome by an irresistible impulse, the Count pressed the fairy Ernestine to his heart, while she, holding him by the hand, drew him into the magic mazes of the dance. The magic mazes of the dance is an interesting phrase. Mm-hmm. The mysterious music floated through the room, and the rest of the fairy company circled and whirled around the fairy queen and Count Otto, and then gradually dissolved into a mist of many colors, leaving the Count and his beautiful guest alone. Then the young man, forgetting all his former coldness toward the maidens of the country, fell on his knees before the fairy and besought her to become his bride. At last she consented on the condition that he should never speak the word death in her presence. The next day, the wedding of the Count and Ernestine, Queen of the Fairies, was celebrated with great pomp and magnificence, and the two continued to live happily for many years. Now, it happened on a time that the Count and his fairy wife were to hunt in the forest around the castle. The horses were saddled and bridled, and standing at the door the company waited, and the Count paced the hall in great impatience. But still the fairy Ernestine tarried long in her chamber. At length she appeared at the door of the hall, and the Count addressed her in anger. "You have kept us waiting so long," he cried, "that you would make a good messenger to send for death." Scarcely had he spoken the forbidden and fatal word when the fairy, uttering a wild cry, vanished from his sight. In vain, Count Otto, overwhelmed with grief and remorse, searched the castle and the fairy well. No trace could he find of his beautiful, lost wife, but the imprint of her delicate hand set in the stone arch above the castle gate. Years passed by. The Count continued to grieve, and every Christmas Eve he set up a lighted tree in the room where he had first met the fairy, hoping in vain that she would return to him. Time passed, and the Count died. The castle fell into ruins, but to this day may be seen above the massive gate, deeply sunken in the stone arch, the impress of a small and delicate hand. And such, say the good folks of Strasbourg, was the origin of the Christmas tree. The end.
That was beautiful.
A little melancholy.
Well, it's a melancholy Christmas tale from Germany. This all tracks.
Yeah, when someone says, "Hey, you should read a German Christmas tale," you definitely don't expect it to be full of too much frivolity. Like, it can't end with the frivolity, that's for sure.
Right. And then they all ate salted licorice and sang a dirge, and someone fell into the well, and they were never seen again.
But at least they have a tradition to pass on.
Yeah, they put the tree up and they dunk Jimmy in the well. I want origin stories for everything to do with Christmas from Germany. That's what I want. The candy cane, the Christmas present.
Once upon a time, there was a shepherd who fell into the well.
Oh, he found a waterfall, a fairy waterfall, and tried to drink out of it. All right, maybe that could be a good prompt for the kids to write a story.
Yeah, everybody should have to come up with their own story for the origin of something. What's a good Christmas tradition?
Bunt cake. No,
Christmas.
No, we can't do Christmas because the next season it'll be like St. Patrick's Day or something.
Well, they can send them in still.
Just do whatever you want.
Okay, no, here. Pick a tradition for any holiday.
Well, this is just a prompt, though.
Yeah.
Because we already got like 10 submissions, and those people didn't do what we're about to say to do.
Yeah, it's just one way to write a story. So
pick
any holiday, and then choose a specific tradition. So a Christmas tree. Mm-hmm. There's a tradition of red eggs at Easter,
fireworks, 4th of July.
Write a story, 1,000-word story or so. That is the origin story
of some part of that.
Something of that.
It's
but
good. I like that.
You got to choose a country that origin comes from.
And it has to connect somehow.
Yeah, so you might have to do a little research on those countries. We'll make it a little bit harder.
If it's Nordic, just put a lot of like herring references, fish references.
A lot of fish references, yeah.
If it's Australia, just
rugby,
dingo. New Zealand, Lord of the Rings.
My family lives in Australia. The best I could come up with was
rugby.
And
it was a question too.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to introduce you to our guest this week, Andrew Peterson and Chris Wall. And we're back.
Shocking.
To introduce everybody to Andrew Peterson and Chris Wall. Andrew Peterson, of course, is the author of the Wingfeather saga. Chris Wall is the executive producer of the Wingfeather saga TV series. We got to talk to them a couple weeks ago about what it was like to make this show, all the work that went into adapting it, and you guys sent in so many great questions that they were very impressed by. I saw their faces when these questions came in.
And we asked a ton of them, and it was still like less than half.
Yeah. We were really impressed with just the interest in this show. And the first episode, the premiere episode of the Wingfeather Saga TV series, debuted on December 2nd. Now, that's a couple days ago. if you have not seen it yet, you can go to YouTube or you can go to angel.com to learn more and to figure out how to watch that. This is all free. It's the series was crowdfunded, so you do not have to pay anything. You don't have to have a different subscription. Now, if you like it, you can help support them because they're going to try to do 7 seasons on these books.
Yeah, crazy.
So
Awesome.
You can help keep supporting them and making sure this keeps going. We had a great time chatting with them. You've watched the pilot?
I watched the pilot.
I watched the pilot too. Yeah.
Yeah, we got sent the premiere. It was really cool of them to send that to us. And this is Andrew Peterson's sophomore appearance.
Yeah, his second time on,
Withywindle.
But it was fun to hear from the producer too, because you saw how they work together and the partnership that it is, and they talk about all the different people that are involved.
And the kids don't know this, but after the show, Andrew said Withywindle, like being on Withywindle is like the height of his career. Like he like as far as like his rankings go, it's being on Withywindle twice. That was at the top. Mm-hmm. Then the show, then his albums and books, and then family and things like that. But it was really cool of him to like put us that high.
I didn't hear any of that.
I don't think I
gone at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It could have been a dream.
I believe you.
I don't know.
Well, without further ado, here is our conversation with Chris Wall and Andrew Peterson, and you can hear for yourself whether it seems like Andrew Peterson would have said something like that. Andrew Peterson, Chris Wall, thanks so much for joining Withywindle and taking some time to answer some of our listeners' questions. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
Glad to be here.
So, as is usual, we have a lot of questions from kids, but we got even more questions than normal. So it's clear that our listeners are excited for this show, and it seems like some of them, although they are 9 years old, have been waiting for 25 years for this show to happen. So there's a lot of excitement out there, and we'll start with this one. This comes from Caleb, and he wants to know how much of the first book season 1 of the show will cover. And then Garrett, who is his brother, wants to know if Andrew Peterson is doing the voice of Oscar himself.
Well, I can answer question number 2 by saying, why, yes, of course, I'm doing the voice of Oscar Nosracheap. Yes, that is me. And then so season 1 is book 1. So 6 episodes, season 1 is book 1. But that's not going to be the case going forward. We're actually stretching out a little bit. And so we broke all 4 books up into 7 seasons. So it is a long, exciting journey ahead of us.
I have to offer to Andrew, I had to kind of convince him to play Oscar. I just felt like that was like my favorite character of his. And he was like, yeah, but my British isn't very good. And I'm like, okay, well, let's imagine that Oscar's British is not very good. Like maybe that's not native to him. And it's been awesome. He just brings such warmth and fun. And for anybody that's heard him do the read alouds, I know a lot of the kids have, he's a pretty great Oscar. It's been awesome.
Shucks, you guys.
Okay, so that raises the question, though, if, as you put it, British is not come natural to him, what does come natural to him?
Well, what I landed on was the idea that where we thought through the accents in the world, and so Scree is loosely like America. It's kind of a melting pot, and they've got the kids all have American accents, but Nia has a slight Polish accent, which is a little bit Irish, for reasons that I will not spoil in case there are people out there who have not read the books. But the idea was that Oscar wishes he was British. He's not British, but he wishes that he was, because he's like this bookish guy who just thinks like, oh, this is the dignified way to speak. So it's a nice little safety, so the British people won't be mad at me for ruining their accent.
Hey, while we're talking about accents, Kevin McNally, who plays Hodo, and of course is quite famous for playing a pirate in Pirates of the Caribbean, playing Mr. Gibbs. When he first stepped in, he said, hey, can I not do kind of a British pirate affected? Could I do an American? He's actually British, which is fun. Could I do an American accent Podo? Which is actually, Podo grew up in Flipwood and Scree, so wouldn't that be? And so that's what he's brought, which, makes that voice kind of separate from his other pirate characters, but also like, okay, that's cool. We haven't heard that. And every time we're in the booth and I hear him delivering it that way, it feels fresh. Of course, the British guy doing an American accent, which is always entertaining.
But yeah, and the idea was that Podo, like in the lore of the world, like he would have grown up in Scree, but he also ran with the Stranders, and they had their own accent. And then he went off to sea, and he hung out with it. So he was an American accent that got infused with just a little bit of pirate. And man, he rode the line perfectly. Kevin just nailed it. So he still sounds piratey, but he sounds American. I don't know how he did it.
That's awesome. All right. So for this episode, we sent out an email to a lot of kids, and we said, hey, we're going to have Andrew Peterson on, and the producer of the Wingfeather Saga show, Chris. And Felix asked an awesome question. It's a question I've been wondering my whole life, to be honest. Felix says, Chris, what's a producer?
It's a great question.
It's funny. I get adults asking that question a lot too. So Felix, you're in the zone here. So that's like asking. It does vary a little bit between television, film, different ways. So producers that role can change a little bit. For television, a producer is kind of like a coach. So their job is to get the right people in and do the right types of jobs and set them off to win the game. Right. In our game, it's tell a great story. And so those responsibilities can be all over the place. They can be creative responsibilities to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do creatively. And then it can also be, timeline that how fast they get stuff done, and then how much it costs to do that. So it can kind of affect a lot of different parts. It's interesting in television, there's a term that came up called showrunner. And that is someone whose job is pitching the show at the front. It should be a show like this, and it should feel like this. That they're the ones that make sure creatively that ends up being what gets delivered at the end. And someone has to kind of bridge across that. And so the producer in television ends up having people like a director. We have an episode director that works right down there in the trenches of making that episode. And then I get to be kind of over the top of that, and just kind of trying to provide the resources and be a sounding board and keep everything going the same direction. Because you got a lot of good creative people, and you could kind of wander off into the woods pretty easily. Yeah. Keep them all going the right way.
So you're kind of a wrangler of ideas and people and budgets and all that type of stuff. So like you were saying, if an actor comes to you with a suggestion or an idea, is it your job to kind of weigh that and figure out if it actually makes sense for the show? Or are you bringing that to the director? How does that work?
That's cool. Yeah. And Andrew and I are both executive producers, so we both get to do some of that work. We get to sit there and go, hey, so that's a really fun idea. I think the hardest part when people have really, and they're involved creatively, is to take the idea and help it find its new space, right? If it's not maybe the right thing that you're into. So it's like not shutting them down, right? You don't want to say, no, it's a bad idea. And you're coming up with terrible, like you want to find a way to say, oh, I like that. I wonder if it could go this way, right? And sometimes you do have to kind of turn something off, but a lot of times it's collaborating. And I think animation is one of the most collaborative art forms out there, where everybody's taking, a thing that is not alive and animating it to life, right? Through a really layered process over a long time.
I remember seeing an interview with Martin Scorsese that you kids out there won't know who he is, but he's a famous movie director. And the interviewer asked him, like, what does that mean you're a director? How do you describe your job? And he was like, you know what? It means I make about 10,000 little decisions every day. So somebody has to be the one to say yes or no to these little tiny little things and have an opinion. Like, it may not be the right opinion, but somebody's got to have an opinion, or we're all going to get stuck on something. So I think Chris does a great job of just kind of like making, like, the buck's got to stop somewhere. And I think that's part of the producer's job.
So Andrew, was it hard for you to, I don't want to say let go of the story, but to bring in other creative people into this story that you've sort of spent so much time thinking about and investing in and loving? Was that a difficult thing for you to do?
No, not at all, actually. I think that's one of the advantages of having been a singer-songwriter first, is that I learned a long time ago, when you're making music, it is not a one-man show. Like, there are co-writers, there's a producer, there's all the players that come in. You hire a band because the song is better with the band playing on it, right? Yeah. And so that idea of taking the little thing that you made and trusting it to a team that you trust is just, that it's going to make the thing itself better. And so I just I didn't have any qualms about it. And assuming, we hired the right people, which I think we did. It's this amazing team of people. What I get to be in the room, and every now and then I'll have a suggestion, or I'll kind of raise my hand and be like, oh yeah, I'm not sure if that will work. But for the most part, I get to be a cheerleader.
So Audrey actually asked that question that I just asked, and I forgot to mention her name, but she had she added a little coda to the question, I suppose. She said, did you have any surprising rewards that came out of that letting go process?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So what was really fun was, so I don't know if you guys know how this works, but what you do is you get the writers. There's a team of 3 or 4 writers, and they all know like book one better than anybody in the world knows book one. They've read it and they've underlined stuff, and their job is to try to like break up book one into 6 episodes, and they write all their notes down. They figure out all the timelines, who's doing what and where. And then there's the big moment where there's the pitch of the season, right? And so I wasn't there for a lot of the wrestling through the whole thing. But then when they're ready, I get to go sit in the room and listen to them describe, here's what happens in season 1. This person goes here, and then it ends here. And then episode 2 happens. And they kind of, it takes, an hour and a half or so. They walk through the entire show. And I got to experience On the Edge of the Dark Sea of Darkness in a completely new way, as if I hadn't written it. And that was one of the real fun surprises. It was just kind of like, I had this, recipe that was book 1, and these guys cooked this different meal out of it. And I got to kind of like experience book 1 as an objective viewer. Cause when you write the book, you're on the inside of it the whole time. And now it was like sitting out there apart from me. And it was just, I remember crying at the end of it because it was so gratifying and fun to kind of say, oh wow, there's the story, but it's different and it's fuller in some ways. And so, that was a great blessing.
So on that note, similarly, how much did you guys, this is for both of you, did you have to worry about altering the story or trimming it or whatever the word is to make it accessible to people who don't know the world already, who don't have the, the opportunity to really sink into a book, the way you can kind of really unpack a lot of things over the course of 30 or 40 pages. You can't always do that on the show. So how much did you have to think about, okay, this person's probably, there's going to be people who don't read the books. They just aren't going to read the books. But then I also have the people who adore these books. How much did that have to like become a calculation that you had to think about?
Yeah, it's interesting. So for me, I kind of back into it, right? So the format right away, half-hour episodes. Okay. In a half hour, there's certain rhythms to what you can get done. So there's some structure that comes into play. We knew we had 6 episodes. That helps. So you start there. Okay, it's like pouring all your tools out on the floor, all your stuff, and okay, here's what we have. And so us and the writers start working through like, okay, what could this be? And Andrew had done such a great job of tending to the story over the years. So he didn't just write the books and then walk away. He did read alouds. He, just was involved with his fans. And so Andrew had gotten a real good sense of what were the key things that really worked, were really important. And so that was good to have, right? So we knew, okay, we definitely want to make sure those moments are really strong. Don't want to lose those. So those become kind of put them on the shelf. And then it's like, how do we get to those moments? The hard part about adaptation, which is what we call when you go from one thing to another, so going from a book to a television series, adaptation has a real risk of becoming derivative. I think fans of any book I want everything that's in this book. I've got my old ragged copy of this one's kind of beat up. I want every page to be on screen. You actually don't really want that because that becomes derivative. It's actually like a bit boring. I think our experience with the Harry Potter books was like, oh, we love these books. And then the movies, some of those movies were pretty like page for page. And it's like, I'm feeling a little bit bored. Oh, it's the worst thing ever, right? I think to slow an audience down. In our process, we're trying to find how do I re-experience the story fresh while making it the same story. You also don't want to run off and just make a whole new story. So I'm tired of that story. I want to do my own thing. And so it's this delicate balance between the two of finding what are those cool moments. And we imagine like if Andrew was like this documentarian watching a story and writing it down in the books. And then we get to come along and watch the same story, but we're using a completely different medium. So we're using visuals. And so we can see things and display them differently. And we can kind of tell moments in a fresh way that maybe you didn't experience it that way in the book, but you could experience here. We also don't have the author voice, right? We're not in there saying, this is what the character's thinking, right? And this is how they're feeling. We don't get to do that. We have to show you those things and try to emote that and give you a visual tableau, but also kind of invite you to fill in the blanks, right? We don't answer every little thing. So it's quite an interesting process. But yeah, I start with the big rocks, basically. Put the big rocks in and then see what other little things come along.
What I love about it is that like if you watch the movies or the series and then you read the books, in the reading of the books, there's going to be a lot of information that you didn't have in the series. And I think if you've read the books and then you watch the movies are going to tell you things that the books didn't tell you, but they're all about the same story. That's how I see it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So continuing on, let's talk a bit about those visuals. So Anna, who's 13, wants to know what tools you guys use to create the animation. Are they drawn by hand or created on a computer, or a combination of both of those things?
Great question.
Yeah,
Chris?
that's a lot of fun. It is drawn by hand on a computer. So it's a little bit of both. So I hate telling people that it's all computer, but it is actual hand, painted. And then the animation is actually two things. One is in a computer actually moving each arm and each thing around the right way. But then it's also people wearing special gloves, special costumes, and they can actually move around and perform the characters. So the animators in animation are the actors. And they work with the voice actors and they create a performance, right? So the voice actor does one thing and then the animator does another, and they kind of do a dance together. Sometimes they step on each other's toes a little bit, but they get to do that sometimes we call it motion capture, where they can capture part of that. They always go through and then refine that performance a little bit more in the computer, but it is a bit of both. We decided to embrace CG, computer graphic animation, which is like you see with Pixar, and 2D animation, and kind of merge them into one. And so the characters and the props and all things are computer made and kind of like 3D models. They move around. But then all the environments are 2D. They're painted backgrounds, layered and done really cool stuff with to make it feel like they're actually in the same space together. And there's lots of tricks about how you do your lighting and shading to make that your brain doesn't go, wait, that's not real. But it is a blend of both things, which we love. We really wanted something that felt handcrafted, like for the kids out there, they'll see the brush strokes, right? You'll see the artist's work right there on screen. The computer doesn't clean it up. We actually are using really powerful computers using Unreal Engine and doing it wrong. We're actually breaking it and hobbling it and saying, don't make it photoreal. Don't make it feel like it's the real world. Make it feel like it's a painting and it's a bit more abstract.
Yeah. So, Andrew, this is a question from Leah, and maybe it's difficult to answer since you've been in the process for so long. You have to remember back. But how similar is the show to how you pictured things from your books is what she wants to know.
Very similar. Yeah. It's been really cool to see I've kind of forgotten what it looked like before the show existed, in a good way. That can happen in a bad way with some adaptations. But with this book, like one of the joys of being in the room and being a part of the process is having a little bit of a say in the way things are looking and feeling. I don't know if you guys know this, but like when I was in high school, I was the art kid. So I was always, I had all these art classes, and my drawings and stuff were always hanging up in the display of the cabinet at school. It was a very small high school, so that isn't saying much. But
but here we are.
Interviewed at Savannah College of Art and Design. I wanted to draw Batman comics. I wanted to be an artist, and then I realized somewhere along the line that I didn't really love it enough to learn how to do it. And so I started playing guitar, and I turned into a songwriter. And so all that to say, like, I know enough about art to know that I can't do it, but I do have an eye for what I like and for what's good. And so I've gotten to art direct, the book covers and all my album covers, that kind of thing, over the years. And so that said, I've always had the pictures in my mind of what the thing was supposed to look like. I illustrated some of the first, the toothy cow in book 1, and the horned hound. Like, those are some of my drawings. So it's been fun to be in the room and have a team that, you actually get to work together to get close to the thing that was in my brain.
I really like your books for adults on on art. And one of the things I like about them is that it has your sketches and your drawings and things like that. It makes me want to learn how to draw trees. But it made me wonder how much you were involved in the process of this animation. So I know you're saying you don't have the particular skills that these animators are doing, but were you in the room at all? Like, I wasn't clear on that. Like, are you in the room? Are you drawing sketches? Are you saying, well, could we drawing something real quick, maybe sending it on to the animator and saying, can we tweak this a little bit like this?
Usually it's the art director, Garrett Taylor. He's the guy who's doing a lot of that work. They do draw overs. So the artist will draw an environment, and then he will look at it and draw over it with a red virtual pen and say, hey, I think his eyes need to be this shape, or the building ought to be a little wonkier here. He does a lot of that work. And then once all those iterations are done, then those things are posted online on the Slack channel. It's like the way that we work together, spread out all over the world. And I get to approve thumbs up or thumbs down, or say, yeah, of those 3 options, number 3 is the one that I think is the best one. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of 1,000 little decisions.
Yeah. This is so inside baseball in a way that the kids are absolutely going to love.
I hope so. I would have loved it when I was a kid.
Okay, so this is we definitely got a lot of questions about the show. We also got a few fun questions that the kids are just interested in a lot of things. So we're going to take a slight detour here before we come back to the show. I'm going to start with you, Chris, on this one. How do you feel about hot chicken, Nashville hot chicken?
I love Nashville hot chicken.
From Isaac and Charlotte.
Yeah, thanks, Isaac. Nashville hot chicken was a late adopter. We've lived here for 18 years, and kind of stumbled upon Hattie B's is one of our hot chicken restaurants here, and went and did a selection of tenders. And so here they have a very, very hot one called Shut the Cluck Up. It's super hot, and it makes you cry when you have it. And but it's a funny delayed reaction with that particular hot chicken, because you taste it and your mouth doesn't burn immediately. It's like, oh, it's nice, and nor does your throat. It gets down in your chest and it just burns. And but it tastes so good, you don't want to stop. So I did love some hot chicken.
I like the flavor of hot chicken, but I don't love super spicy, so I always get the mild one.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't take it. I just sweat the whole time, and that is not fun to me.
So, Andrew, the Nygaards want to know, because they also lived in Illinois, they want to know what you miss most about Illinois, if anything. They say there's a caveat. And if you have a favorite childhood memory of Illinois.
Oh, man. That's a good question. Harvest time, because we lived surrounded by cornfields. And so I miss seeing combines, harvesting corn, riding on the combines, the color of the world in Illinois at that time of year is just the most autumnal, beautiful thing. And my favorite memories, man, there's so many. I think once again, corn. I have these vivid memories of playing hide and seek in the cornfields around my house. We weren't supposed to be in there, I don't think, but yeah, the feeling of kind of being in the middle of a sea of corn among all those rows and not really knowing where you are was just magical to me. Okay,
here's a good one. I mean, Chris, I don't know if you lived in Illinois. If you want to respond to the Illinois question too, you're welcome to. But
I have not lived, but I know Illinois can be very cold in the winter, so that's my experience.
And that's what you imagine that you would miss the most.
Yeah, when I joined making VeggieTales, the people moving out of Illinois to Tennessee were thankful to have moved away from all the cold of Chicago.
Okay, so we have one here. A couple of different kids asked what your favorite children's book to film adaptations are.
Oh, that's a good one.
And so this is one I'd like to hear from both of you. Chris, you want to go first on this?
Oh, man. Wow. It's a tough one because I didn't know the children's book ahead of the adaptation, but Paddington is just loved here. Our whole family. Paddington 1 and 2. 2 is actually better than the first. It's so good. In lifting a story that we're mildly familiar with. The other one that I have to go right to, though, is How to Train Your Dragon. The book was really charming and fun, but I didn't have an imagination for what the movie could be. And it was one of those where it found really good roots in the book, but then just became its own wonderful thing. So yeah, those two.
You want my answer? My favorite is The Little Prince on Netflix. Adapted from this really beautiful, strange book. And I just love because the Little Prince on Netflix is this combination of different kinds of animation, and the way they tell the story is super creative and beautiful.
Here's one that's kind of similar to that, and then Graham, I know you've got one about that involves music, but this is similar in theme. If you could wander into any classic book, say Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, or The Secret Garden, etc., which classic would you choose and why? And that's from Audrey. Let's go Andrew first on that one, and then we'll do Chris. We'll go backwards from what we did last time.
I would pick a Sherlock Holmes story. I think Victorian England is a pretty cool place to be, and and the thought of like the foggy streets and the horse-drawn carriages in London under big fat full moon, all that kind of spooky vibe just thrills me. So I would say some Sherlock Holmes story.
Just make sure you don't need like surgery or dental work while you're there.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
Yeah,
Chris, what about you?
Oh man. It's funny. When you said it, my brain went to Magician's Nephew. Just the blending of the attic and popping into this other world. Like there's so much in Magician's Nephew that, again, it's London, God bless it. But I think that one is, I think the kid explorer in me was like, yes, that has to be how it is. And when I crawl in my attic, there's a space that I can get into,
That seems like there'd be a lot of like danger in that one too. There's some peril involved.
If you're going to go into the story of the world of a story, you got to have some peril.
That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can fall in the wrong pool and you're in the wrong world, man. You ain't getting back. Yeah, love that risk.
All right. So Emily wants to know, how long has Andrew Peterson wanted to see his book series cast, and did he find it difficult to find someone to produce it?
I remember when I finished book 4, and I thought, okay, cool. The Wingfeather saga has done its thing. My work is done here. I almost immediately, I think I saw, it was The Last Airbender, Avatar: The Last Airbender. My kids were super into it, and that was when the light bulb went on, and I was like, oh man, because I had been, I'd get the occasional email from somebody asking about, buying the rights for a movie or something, and I was never super excited about that because I thought, I would rather there be no movie than there be a really bad movie of my books. But Avatar: The Last Airbender showed me that there was a way to animate a really big story, a big epic story. I was like, ooh, now that could work. And that was right around the time that Chris and I were hanging out in Nashville, and I'd done some work for VeggieTales. I wrote a couple silly songs and met Chris, and he liked the books. And I was like, hey, what do you think about basically quitting your job and putting your life on the line to try to do this thing? And and amazingly, that's kind of what you ended up doing. Yeah. And that would have been 6 years ago?
Fall of 2015, we took a walk around Andrew's property and said, hey, what would it look like to actually go chase this, and here we are.
Yeah.
Here you are on Withywindle. Dreams come true, right?
That's right.
doing hours and hours of media. Here's a question from Rowan. He says, Andrew, in your stories, you frequently go into your characters' heads and write down what they're thinking. In making the animated TV show, is it difficult to show what your characters are thinking? Do they have to speak their thoughts out loud, or are the thoughts just implied with body language or something like that?
Okay, that is a really good question. These kids are asking amazing questions. They're very smart.
They're
listeners.
great. They're amazing.
It's all us, just different names.
So
we wouldn't think of that one.
No.
Yeah. Well, the answer is yes. It is difficult. It's actually very difficult. But it's possible. And so a lot of times in the scripts, there's like, how many drafts of the scripts are there usually? Like 5 drafts. So every time we get a script from somebody, we go through and make notes at least 5 times, and they adapt it. The writers will go back and apply those note changes. And so you finally arrive at, the script that we're going to use to then take to the next phase, which is storyboarding and all that stuff. And so in that process, I find myself saying over and over again, show, don't tell, show, don't tell, show, don't tell. And when you're, as a writer, what that means is, the same principle applies when you're writing a book, but it applies even more so in film. So like, you don't want a bunch of expository language. You want them to say very little and have what little they say convey a whole lot. And yes, their body language, the way that they're interacting with each other, a little gesture or a look on somebody's face. Like there's a scene that we wrestled with in the first episode where, we realized that if we just removed the line, it allowed the character to show you what he was going to say anyway, right? There's like a lot of moments like that where if you just keep removing dialogue, it puts the onus on the animators to try to figure out a way to show it instead of telling it. So yes, I think that's most of the game. Like there's some of the best animated, or not even animated, but just films in general. Some of my favorite kinds to watch are the ones where there's almost no talking. Like it's such a wonderful exercise to go, somehow just by showing a bunch of visuals, you're going to get to know the heart of this person. The character is what they do. And so yeah, that's a good question.
And animation too, I should tack on, is built around that. Like Walt Disney, when he started off, in the United States anyways, really was about storyboarding first. So they would draw like how does it work here? I've had a lot of scripts over the years, even with VeggieTales, that were like really good scripts, but when they were up in the storyboards, they didn't work. It has to work in that medium. It has to convey. Nobody ever reads the script. So if the storyboard, if the animatic, and then what ultimately gets built, that's not like your blueprints. If it doesn't work, the story doesn't work. And so Walt was famous for doing that. You go a long way with just pictures and drawings of characters, and you'd figure it out. And then near the end, he'd say, "All right, get a writer in here, put some words in those characters' mouths." Right. And so a lot of that, for the work we do in the scripts, like Andrew described, we go pretty far, but then it's kind of like you set it aside and say, all right, how does it work here? Does it play? Have we cut back too far? Like, is there too little being said? I'm confused. Right. Or is there too much being said? I got it. Cut that in half. And you really have to decide there, where the story is going to go. And then everybody else can build on that, right? Your animators and everybody else can kind of help take the story the rest of the way, the sound design and sound effects and everything else, music.
I bet like someone should make a documentary. I guess people probably have about this process. I bet that would be really fascinating for kids who want to be like to do what you do, just to see how it all happens behind the scenes.
There's a documentary on Disney Plus called Light and Magic that is about Lucasfilm's Industrial Light and Magic, the guys that kind of made Star Wars work way back in the day before there was CGI. And I loved it. I haven't watched all of them yet, but like it was just the magic of filmmaking is so interesting to me. And like all the nuts and bolts of it. Like I remember when DVDs first came out and they had all these extra features, how fun that was.
Yes.
Yeah. We're living in a world where it's like, if you have some curiosity about that, there's a lot of resources. So.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to offer here too, is it takes time. I think one of the things that we always look for as a team is how much time can we have to think about, to have a fresh take on something. Now that can also run the risk of, I get bored of it, I want to make a new decision, right? And so you don't want to get into that space. But it is I need time to kind of see what the best version of that moment could be. And one of the cool things about animation is you get lots of hits at it over the different cycles to really refine it. They talk about, in feature film, like at Pixar and other places, which is a lot more expensive, they spend a lot more time, that they will have made their movies usually around 3 times, and really get to make 3 different decisions about how that unpacks. Famously, Toy Story, there's a great, if you want to go read on that, the first version of that movie was terrible. Version was better, and the third, of course, is the one that we all know and love. So yeah, it's definitely a layered process.
Okay, we got time for only a couple more questions here. So Graham, take it away.
Okay, so this one's from April and the boys. She wants to know, how were the voice actors chosen for the show? Did you already know any of them? And do they sound the way you imagined?
Well, it was a long process. We actually invited our fans to audition. And so we had a lot of fans, hundreds and hundreds of fans that submitted audition. And it was wonderful to listen through those and hear all these wonderful voices. And And then we had, some that we knew, some voices we knew. What was kind of fun is sometimes we'd hide that so we wouldn't see their name, so we could just hear their voice. And then lots of people we didn't know. And in fact, I remember Jodie Benson, of course, who is in the show, who plays Nia. We actually just listened to her among a bunch of other actresses. It wasn't like, here's Jodie Benson. It was just like, here's another voice. What was fun is Andrew and I intentionally listened to those voices separately, as well as our casting director, Ned Lott. He's wonderful at finding and helping us and kind of curating a little bit. Like, here's some voices that are really bringing something special. And then we'd listen to them separately, and then we compare our notes. And it was kind of like a game show. I have number 3. Oh, I had number 3 too. Oh, that's fantastic. And definitely in the case of Jodie, we were like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. But there were other characters that honestly, Janner was definitely a hard one to get to find the right voice. We talk a lot about in cartoons, you have really broad voices, right? That are just kind of brash or loud or silly, or they're kind of just broad. And our characters in Wingfeather Saga are more subtle. They're kind of literature styled characters, right? Who have a lot more nuance to their performance. And it was difficult to cut through some of the cartoon, animation actors wanting to be broad and having to pull them back to be subtle. Does that make sense? And so I would say that the process took much longer, Andrew, I think, than either of us expected.
All right. This question is from Annika. She wants to know, will any of Andrew's songs or music be in the upcoming show?
Yes. We had, it's funny. There are several times in the, this is true of the show in general. Like, when I'm writing the book, I would describe books and crannies, and you can describe the bookshelves and you can describe the whatever, but whenever you're making a show like this, somebody has to actually decide, how big is this building? Is it 2 stories? Like, where's the desk? You have to get really specific and drill down into things. And so, same thing is true in the book. I would say, like, yeah, and Armelin the Bard sang a song about Anira, and we've got a scene where he's going to do that. And it's like, oh, that's right. We need a song about Anira. We can't just tell the audience, yeah, he's singing about Anira now or whatever. And so, yeah, there's that song. There's My Love Has Gone Across the Sea makes an appearance. Is there anything else in this first season? I can't remember. Oh, Arcadian Wild. So I didn't write the song, but it's a song, Jurgen's tune, which is the one that Lily sings over the dragons. This amazing band called the Arcadian Wild. They've been involved in the music, and they wrote that one.
That's a great name for a band.
It's a great band. You should hear the band.
Yeah, and to answer her question too, we really wanted the music to feel like Andrew's music based in Nashville. So one of the things we did is we had our composer, Kurt Heinecke, who had done all the music for VeggieTales and was a part of our journey, come alongside Ben Shive, who's produced Andrew's records and a lot of other cool guys, as our producer and composer. And then they brought in, we had Arcadian Wild writing music that felt very Nashville while fitting Wingfeather Saga, right? And so the soundtrack is one that I'm super proud of because it doesn't feel like a regular movie or a TV series. It feels like something that's distinctly from Nashville, which of course Andrew has been making music in Nashville for a very long time, and so it's pretty cool.
Is that
which isn't? I was just going to say, which isn't to say it sounds like country music. I just want to make it clear.
Different than just country.
Yeah.
Is that soundtrack going to be available outside the film or outside the show?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I didn't know about putting
8-track.
Very cool.
On an 8-track, exactly.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. Since we have you here, can you tell us a little bit about who some of your animator inspirations are? Some of the people that inspired you to do this job and who motivate you to just keep getting better at it?
Well, as a kid, I had always liked Looney Tunes and kind of cartoon side, and so that library of Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny and all those was a big anchor for me of just like, wow, what a way to do this. But The Little Mermaid was a huge influence as a homeschool kid living in the plains of Colorado. And that was really my first introduction to a musical, which I know a lot of people had seen musicals and Broadway and such, but I had really never encountered it. And that musical combined with that art form of animation, that was a huge one. Of course, then when Pixar stepped in, it just, John Lasseter really brought forward the art form into something else, right? And Toy Story and that. my favorite of those is Finding Nemo, and that storycraft, and again, like Andrew and I've been talking about, the ability to be patient with a story and let it unfold, and let it be scary, and let there be peril. Those really for me are key influences and the kind of things I get into. But we talked about it earlier, but Avatar Airbender was just profound in its like storytelling and engagement in the fantasy space. So yeah, a number of different influences.
Yeah. All right, Graham, I think we got time for like one, maybe two here. We got to let these guys go on and finish the actual show, right?
That's right.
That's right.
All right. So this question, well, we're just curious. So you've mentioned we know the first season. It's in production. It's coming out very, very soon. But you've also mentioned subsequent seasons and even plans that you have that sound like they're maybe kind of concrete. What are you guys thinking? What is confirmed and what is just kind of hoped for at this point?
Yeah, what can you reveal?
Yeah. I mean, we have broken up the 4 books into 7 seasons. So the books get a little longer with every one, and so it doesn't really make sense to keep them all 6 episodes. So we're gonna branch it out into 7 seasons, Lord willing, and we are in pre-production on season 2 already.
Wow!
So that's pretty
never
fun.
stops.
Yeah.
I just watched episode 3 in storyboards yesterday.
For season 2,
for season
nice.
2, yeah. So we're into it. The cool thing about what we get to do here, guys, is we are community supported. So the fact that we're getting to make the series is because a community of people came around and invested in making the series at the beginning. Last year, we set the record for the largest crowdfunded family series of all time, and that's because a whole lot of people brought in their part, right? So it wasn't one big person writing a big fat check. It was a lot of people contributing and making it. So as the series goes on, it will be a question of that community support. So the show is always free. So with Angel Studios, who distributes our show, the show will always be free. So you can go on the Angel Studios app or on your computer, whatever, and watch our show. And then if you like it, you get to say, I want to be a part of this. And you could go buy merch and that helps support our show. Or they have a thing called Pay It Forward and you can, it's like a tip jar, right? You go, I like this, make more of it. I laugh about this because like if Mandalorian in season 1 at the end had a button I could press to make season 2 come faster, I would have pressed it. And I think for us, we hope that the audience comes around and says, we want to see more of this. And if they do, we're going to go make more of it, but it's not guaranteed. But we're certainly started the process because we want to be prepared that if the audience gets really excited about season 1, that we can come and bring season 2 very quickly. We don't want to wait too long. I think a lot of times on shows, if you wait too long, you forget about them and you can't remember what it was about anymore. We want to try to get back to the audience, hopefully about a year from now. Season.
Andrew, this is a question that might not have a question mark at the end of it, but this must be really rewarding for you to see these stories that you spent hours and hours in coffee shops or in your studio at home working on, and then first they go out to the kids and the kids love them, and then their parents love them, and then they're telling other people, and then you've got the box set of that, and then now you've got all these different animators. Like it's just this whole thing has grown out of it. So that must be, that's rare, right? Like not everybody gets to experience that, and that must be really cool. So I'll just say that must be really cool, question mark.
That must be really cool. And I will say it is definitely really cool. It has felt, I'm pinching myself. It's too good to be true. I just can hardly believe it. Like I said, when I finished book 4, finished writing it, and it was such a gratifying feeling to finally make it across the finish line and have the satisfaction of seeing all 4 books on the shelf. And there's one big story and I was like, okay, I wonder what's next. I guess I'm moving on to the next thing, and then the fact that all these years later, it's still kind of growing and we're doing this new version is just one of the most amazing things. I never, ever, ever, ever would have guessed that this is what we would be doing. And so I don't have words for it. I'm amazed. So thank you to the people out there who are helping us to do this.
Well, thank you for spending some time with us. We'll let you go so you can get back to it, but we really appreciate the time here on Withywindle, and good luck with the show. Am I allowed to say that? Do you have to say break a leg to an animator too? I don't know. But we're excited about it and can't wait to share it with our families and our friends. So thanks for being here.
Thank you guys. Thank you. See ya.
It's good to see you.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was Andrew Peterson and Chris Wall. We are so grateful to them for coming on and spending some time with us. We hope you enjoyed that conversation, and we hope that you really enjoy watching that series throughout this December and January. Again, if you want to learn more, you can head to angel.com or search Wingfeather Saga on YouTube. Please do check that out. It's pretty great. Graham, you know what that brings us to, though?
The end of another episode. Not just any episode.
The end of another season. Brings us, sadly, to the end of season 4. Should we do season 5?
Well, if it was up to you and me, the answer would be yes. I think we just need to hear from the kids if they want us to keep going. Actually, you know what? Garglehauser just came back.
He did?
Yeah, like an hour ago.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh.
You know he wouldn't come say hi. I just happened to see him.
Yeah, you were walking past the lair?
And he had the printer.
He brought the printer back with him?
And so I think we got to give the printer another shot. Okay. So season 5 has to happen.
Okay. Well,
I don't want to make...
We'll do one more season, and then if the kids don't want it, it's fine. We'll shut it down then.
If he finds out that we just made a decision to not do another season, I don't want to troll wrath. Like, I don't want to know what that would do. I think he would burn,
It's true.
It'd be mayhem.
That's true.
And dirt and slime.
And there'd be a lot of ink around.
Be a lot of ink. I think he would come up, he might even reorganize your shelves.
Ooh, okay.
Put nonfiction in the fiction.
All right. I said we'll do it. We'll do season 5.
Middle grade in the kids lit.
We'll be back. We'll be back for season 5. We're going to take some time off. We got to gear up for the next season. We got to schedule more guests. If you want a specific guest, if you would love to hear from somebody, please email us at podcast@goldberrybooks.com or get in touch with us on social media.
You know who people always say?
Who?
Nathan Hale and Shannon Messenger. I get those all the time. And we've been trying.
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out into the universe.
Yeah. We're working on getting all kinds of great people. But, we also like to talk to people who maybe aren't quite as well known yet.
Yeah, that
So if you have an author that you love who's maybe not that well known, we'd love to hear from them. Hear from you too about them. So,
and I think every season we're going to try to bring one person back from a previous season, like how we had Andrew Peterson this season, and last season we brought back Creaney and Glazer, and
yeah.
So if there's somebody who's been on before, and you're like, please bring that person back on, let us know. Unless it's SD Smith.
And also, if you want to help us spread the word, we'd appreciate that. When you leave a review on whatever app you use, that's really helpful to us. But it's especially helpful when you just tell your friends and your family to listen and tune in. And it's a big help to us to keep doing this.
Yep.
Thanks to all of our sponsors this season, especially SD Smith and the Tree Street Kids series and Glenn McCarty.
Yeah.
We're really grateful to the people who help make this possible. Anything else you'd like to say as we end season 4?
No, I'm just glad you brought the reviews thing up, because I know when people leave a rating and a review, the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, he gets a little notification and he goes, good. And then he votes us up and he shows us to more people.
Right. Yeah.
No, I think the season was awesome. I think it was great. We will be back for another season. In the spring?
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Part of it is just scheduling out guests and making sure that we can get. It's better to wait and do a good season than to rush a bad season.
That's true.
So
you can email us and ask us when the next season's coming, but we might just say, I don't know, it's soon.
People think that we don't plan any of this, and that we do no work to make this happen.
Yeah.
Because it seems casual, but we actually put a lot of work into this.
Yeah, I'm actually bicycling right now.
Right.
On my way between meetings.
Yeah.
With different producers.
But also,
you're
trying to get
that they were trying to make.
Trying to get some cardio in too.
Yeah, we're multitasking right now. David's swimming. I don't even know how.
It's tough. I've got waterproof headphones, little headset. So. All right. Well, Graham, this has been really fun. Thanks so much to everyone who's been listening. Thanks to all of our guests. All the things we just said. But we're really grateful to be able to do this, and that so many of you actually listen and care about it. So, all right. Well, for Graham Pittman, I'm David Kern. Until next time.